The smell of burning metal filled the underground facility. James Anderson walked through the long steel corridor, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Above ground, the world was ending, but down here, humanity's last hope was waiting. The attack had come 3 years ago. The alien ships had appeared without warning, their weapons turning Earth's greatest cities to ash within hours. They called themselves the Coalition of Advanced Species, and they saw humans as nothing more than primitive beings unworthy of the stars. James touched the old photo in his pocket, the last picture of his wife and daughter, taken just days before the Coalition turned his home city to dust. He wasn't supposed to keep personal items in the facility, but some rules weren't meant to be followed, even by a ship captain. "Captain Anderson," a voice called out. Dr. Linda Wells stood at the end of the corridor, her gray hair tied back in a messy bun. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept in days. "It's time. The ship is ready." James nodded and followed her through the heavy security doors. With each step, the humming of powerful machines grew louder. Finally, they entered the main chamber, and James stopped in his tracks, looking up in wonder. There it was, the HSS Nemesis. The massive warship filled the underground chamber, its black hull gleaming under the bright lights. It didn't look like any human ship, nor did it match the smooth designs of Coalition vessels. It was something new, a perfect mix of stolen alien technology and human creativity. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Linda smiled, leading him toward the entry ramp. "But the real magic is inside. Atlas is waiting to meet you." James had read about Atlas in the briefings, an artificial intelligence unlike anything ever created. Not just a computer, but a true thinking machine that could learn and grow. The Coalition might have better weapons, but humans had something they didn't understand: the ability to create real artificial intelligence. Inside the ship, everything was new and clean. The command center looked more advanced than anything James had ever seen. Screens covered the walls, showing data he couldn't even understand. In the center, a soft blue light pulsed in a crystal column. "Hello, Captain Anderson," a calm voice said from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I am Atlas. It's good to finally meet you." James looked at Linda, who nodded encouragingly. "Hello, Atlas. I hope we'll work well together." "As do I, Captain. I have studied your military record extensively. Your experience will be valuable in the coming battles." Before James could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Linda rushed to a console, her face going pale. "They've found us. Coalition forces are breaking through the outer defenses." "How?" James demanded. "This facility was supposed to be completely hidden." "They must have detected the power readings from our last test," Linda said, her fingers flying over the controls. "We have maybe 20 minutes before they reach this level." James straightened his back, years of military training taking over. "Then we launch now. Is the ship ready?" "Yes, but we haven't tested all systems in real conditions." "And the crew?" "There's no time for the full crew," James cut in. "How many people do we absolutely need to run this ship?" Linda thought for a moment. "With Atlas helping, no more than 5 for basic operations." "Then get them here now. Everyone else needs to evacuate through the emergency tunnels." James turned to the blue light of Atlas. "Can you handle combat operations with a skeleton crew?" "Yes, Captain. My systems are fully operational. However, I must warn you that my combat algorithms are untested in real situations." "We'll learn together then." James pressed the command center's emergency button. "All essential personnel to the HSS Nemesis immediately." "This is not a drill. All other staff proceed to emergency exits." The next 15 minutes were chaos. 4 other crew members arrived: a weapons expert, a power systems engineer, a navigation specialist, and a communications officer. They were young but the best in their fields. They had to be chosen for this project. Through the ship's external cameras, they watched Coalition troops break into the upper levels of the facility. The alien soldiers moved with mechanical precision, their advanced armor making them look more like robots than living beings. "All systems are ready, Captain," Atlas reported. "But the launch doors are sealed. The facility's main computer is locked down due to the invasion." James looked at Linda. "Can you override it?" She shook her head. "Not from here. Someone has to go to the main control room." "How long?" 2 minutes to get there, 1 minute to input the codes, and 2 minutes back." James checked the security feeds. The coalition forces were 8 levels up, moving down fast. "We don't have that much time." He stood from his captain's chair. "Give me the codes. I'll go and trigger the launch, then take the emergency shaft back." "Captain, the chance of you making it back," Atlas began, "is better than the chance of humanity surviving if we lose this ship." James finished. "Linda, you have command until I return. If I'm not back in 4 minutes, launch anyway." Before anyone could argue, he was moving. The corridors were empty now, emergency lights casting everything in red shadows. He ran hard, his boots pounding against the metal floor. The control room was 1 level up. As he input the codes with shaking fingers, he heard the first explosions. The coalition was close. The launch doors began to open with a grinding sound that shook the whole facility. Then he heard them, heavy footsteps in the corridor outside. James drew his pistol and fired through the door without looking, hearing the satisfying sound of alien armor being hit. But there would be more. He grabbed the emergency shaft handle and pulled. The small door opened to reveal a narrow tube leading down to the ship's level. As energy weapons began cutting through the control room door, he jumped. The shaft felt endless. James could hear the fighting above and feel the heat of near misses as coalition troops fired down at him. His hands were burning from friction against the guide rail. He hit the bottom hard, rolling to absorb the impact. The ship was 30 meters away. Energy bolts were hitting the floor around him as he ran. 10 seconds to launch. He heard Linda's voice over the facility speakers. James dove through the closing entry ramp, feeling the heat of an energy bolt pass over his head. He rolled onto his back, gasping for air as the ramp sealed behind him. "The captain has returned," Atlas announced. "Launch sequence commencing." The ship shuddered as its engines came to life. Through the view screens, James watched as coalition troops poured into the chamber, their weapons useless against the Nemesis's shields. "Take us up," James ordered, climbing back into his captain's chair. "Let's show them what humanity can do." The HSS Nemesis rose, its powerful engines turning the launch chamber into an inferno. As they burst through the facility's hidden doors into the open air, James saw his first glimpse of the coalition fleet waiting in orbit. Dozens of massive warships hung in the sky like metal clouds. On any other day, against any other ship, it would have been suicide to face them. But this wasn't any other day, and the Nemesis wasn't any other ship. "Atlas," James said, settling into his chair as targeting data filled the screens around him. "Let's introduce ourselves to the neighborhood." The blue light pulsed brighter, and humanity's last hope rose to meet its destiny. The coalition ships filled the sky above Earth like angry wasps around a disturbed nest. The HSS Nemesis shot upward through the clouds, its black hull reflecting the fires burning below. Inside the command center, James gripped his chair as enemy ships turned to face them. "Multiple weapon locks detected," Atlas reported, its blue light pulsing faster. "The coalition flagship is sending a message." "Let's hear it," James ordered. A harsh voice filled the command center. "Primitive vessel, you are ordered to power down and surrender. Your defeat is inevitable." James looked at his small crew. Linda at the engineering station, Mike at weapons, Tom at navigation, and Rachel handling communications. They had trained for this moment, but training was different from facing a real alien fleet. "Atlas, what are our chances?" James asked quietly. "Based on known coalition capabilities, survival chances are below 20%. Atlas paused. "However, my combat systems are designed to learn and adapt. Each second provides new data. James smiled. Then let's give you lots of data. All hands. Battle stations. Rachel, send them our reply. Rachel nodded, opening the channel. James stood from his chair. This is Captain James Anderson of the HSS Nemesis. Here's our surrender. He nodded to Mike. Fire the main gun. The Nemesis shuddered as its main weapon fired for the first time. A beam of pure energy, born from combined human and alien technology, shot toward the nearest coalition ship. The alien vessel's shields flared bright, and then collapsed completely. The beam cut through its hull like paper, splitting the massive ship in two. For a moment, everything was silent. Then all hell broke loose. Multiple incoming missiles. Tom shouted. Energy weapons charging from all directions. Atlas. Defensive pattern Alpha, James ordered. Show us what you can do. The Nemesis moved like no ship its size should be able to move. It twisted and turned, avoiding the first wave of missiles. Its shields blazed as they absorbed energy blasts, but held firm. Analyzing enemy weapon patterns, Atlas announced. Adjusting shield frequencies. Efficiency improved by 20%. Another coalition ship exploded as the Nemesis's main gun fired again. But the aliens were learning too. The next ship they targeted managed to partially deflect the beam. They're adapting to our main weapon, Linda reported from engineering. Power consumption is increasing to maintain the same effect. Atlas, options. James asked as the ship shook from a heavy hit. Enemy shield modifications recorded and analyzed. Calculating new attack frequencies. The AI's voice remained calm even as warnings flashed across the screens. Captain, I believe I can match their adaptations in real time, but it will require more direct control of ship systems. James looked at Linda, who nodded. Do it, Atlas. Full system integration. The blue light in the central column spread through the ship's interior. Displays flickered as Atlas took direct control. When the next coalition ship fired, the Nemesis's shields didn't just block the attack. They reflected it back, destroying the enemy vessel with its own weapons. Remarkable, Linda whispered, watching her engineering displays. Atlas is rewriting our defense protocols on the fly, creating completely new shield configurations I've never seen before. The coalition ships began to pull back, forming a new attack pattern. Their next attack came from all directions at once, a storm of energy and missiles that lit up space like a new sun. Hold on, James shouted as the ship spun through the assault. The artificial gravity strained to keep up with the maneuvers. But something amazing was happening. With each attack, with each evasive move, Atlas was learning. The shields grew stronger. The weapons became more precise. The Nemesis was evolving in the middle of battle. Coalition forces are adjusting tactics, Atlas reported. They are attempting to predict our movement patterns. Recommendation: we should act irrationally. James grinned. Irrational is what humans do best. Everyone hold tight. Atlas, show them some human-style crazy. The Nemesis shot straight up, then cut its main engines. As the ship began to fall backward, it fired all weapons simultaneously. The sudden burst of energy caught 3 coalition ships by surprise, overwhelmed their shields, and turned them into expanding clouds of debris. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, Tom reported from navigation. They're trying to surround us. Let them try, James said. Atlas, what have you learned about their weak points? Coalition ships rely heavily on synchronized shield networks. If we can disrupt their communication frequency. Atlas's light pulsed rapidly, initiating electronic warfare protocols. The command center speakers filled with a strange, pulsing noise. On the screens, they watched as confusion spread through the coalition fleet. Ships began firing at random, their formation falling apart. Their AI systems are basic, Linda said, reading the data. They can't adapt to Atlas's virus fast enough. James watched as another coalition ship exploded, hit by friendly fire in the chaos. How many ships left? 12, Tom reported. No, 11. 10. They're starting to retreat. The remaining coalition ships were turning away from Earth, their engines glowing as they prepared for faster-than-light travel. But James noticed something on his tactical display. That's their command ship. He pointed to the largest remaining vessel. Atlas, can you lock it down? Prevent it from jumping. Affirmative. Targeting their drive systems now. The Nemesis weapons found their mark. The coalition flagship's engines sputtered and died, leaving it stranded as its escorts fled into deep space. Open a channel, James ordered. The same harsh voice from before answered, but now it trembled slightly. What do you want, human? I want you to deliver a message to your leaders, James said. Earth is under the protection of the HSS Nemesis now. If you ever return. He let the threat hang in the air. You've violated all laws of warfare, the alien commander shouted. Using adaptive AI in combat is forbidden by coalition law. James laughed. We never signed your laws. Now take your broken ship and go. Next time, we won't be so merciful. They watched as the damaged coalition flagship limped away, eventually making the shaky jump to faster-than-light speed. For the first time in 3 years, Earth's orbit was clear of enemy ships. Damage report, James asked. Hull integrity at 92%, Linda reported. All systems functional. But Captain, you need to see this. She sent data to his screen. James's eyes widened as he read it. Atlas, he said slowly. Are these readings correct? Your system has grown this much from just one battle. Correct, Captain. The eye replied. Combat provides exponentially more data than simulations. I have developed 47 new combat protocols and improved overall system efficiency by 60%. The implications hit everyone at once. The Nemesis hadn't just won a battle. It had learned from it. And it would keep learning, keep growing stronger with every fight. Send word to the resistance cells on Earth, James ordered Rachel. Tell them hope is back. As the crew began assessing their victory, James pulled out the old photo from his pocket. Looking at his family's smiling faces, he made them a silent promise. This was just the beginning. The coalition had ruled the galaxy through fear for too long. Now they would learn to fear something new. They would learn to fear humanity's last hope, a ship that could not be beaten, the ship that would make the entire galaxy surrender. Plot a course for the nearest coalition base, James ordered. It's time to take the fight to them. The HSS Nemesis turned away from Earth, its black hull now bearing the scars of its first victory. In the command center, Atlas's blue light pulsed steadily, already analyzing the battle data, already growing stronger. The hunt had begun. 3 months had passed since the HSS Nemesis left Earth. In that time, the ship had destroyed 12 coalition bases, freed 4 enslaved planets, and won 37 space battles. Not a single scratch remained on its black hull. Atlas had learned to repair damage almost instantly. James stood at the command center window, watching stars streak by as they traveled through faster-than-light space. The crew had grown more confident with each victory. Even now, Linda was teaching Atlas new engineering concepts, while Mike tested weapon improvements the AI had designed. Captain, Atlas's calm voice interrupted his thoughts. Coalition emergency broadcasts detected. They are calling all ships to defend their main fleet base. They mentioned something called the World Ender. James turned away from the window. The World Ender. What do we know about it? Searching through captured coalition data, Atlas paused. The World Ender is their most powerful warship. It has destroyed 3 solar systems during weapons testing. No ship has ever survived an encounter with it. Tom looked up from his navigation console. Sounds like fun. Should I set a course? James smiled. His crew had come a long way from the scared humans who fled Earth. Atlas, what are our chances against this World Ender? Unknown. Their weapon systems are beyond anything we have encountered. However, the eye's blue light pulsed thoughtfully. My combat capabilities have grown significantly. This could be an interesting challenge. Interesting, he says. Rachel laughed from her communication station. Remember when you used to give us percentage chances of survival? I have learned that humans perform better without such specific predictions. Atlas replied, causing everyone to laugh. James sat in his captain's chair. Tom, plot a course for the Coalition fleet base. Let's go see this unbeatable ship. The Nemesis dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Coalition base. What they saw made everyone gasp. The World Ender was massive, at least 20 times larger than the Nemesis. Its hull was blood-red and covered in weapon ports. Around it, hundreds of Coalition ships formed a protective barrier. Well, Mike whispered from his weapons station. That's big. Before James could respond, every Coalition ship opened fire at once. A wall of energy and missiles filled space between them and the Nemesis. Evasive action, James ordered, but ATLS was already moving the ship. The Nemesis danced through the attacks like they were standing still. Their targeting systems are primitive, Atlas reported, already adapting our shields to await. The AI's voice changed slightly. The World Ender is powering up its main weapon. A massive beam of red energy shot from the World Ender. It was bigger than anything they had ever seen. The Nemesis barely dodged it, and watched in horror as the beam hit a nearby moon, making it explode instantly. That, Linda said from engineering, might be a problem. Atlas? Analysis? James asked, gripping his chair as they avoided another barrage. The World Ender's main weapon uses a form of energy I have not encountered before. Its power output is concerning. Direct hits would overwhelm our current shield configuration. So we avoid getting hit, James said. Can we get closer? Test its defenses. The Nemesis shot forward, weaving through enemy fire. Its own weapons blazed, destroying smaller Coalition ships with ease. But when they fired at the World Ender, their attacks bounced off its shields without effect. Their shield technology is impressive, Atlas said. But there is something strange about their energy pattern. Captain, request permission to try something dangerous. Granted, James said immediately. He had learned to trust Atlas's ideas. The Nemesis charged straight at the World Ender, guns blazing. The massive ship fired its planet killer beam again. But this time, instead of dodging, the Nemesis turned to face it directly. Atlas, what are you doing? Linda shouted as warnings flashed across her engineering screens. Learning, the AI replied calmly. The red beam hit the Nemesis's shields. For a moment, the command center was bathed in crimson light. Warning sirens blared as the shields strained to hold. But they did hold, and ATLS was analyzing every second of the impact. Fascinating, the AI said as they pulled away. Their weapon's energy pattern is similar to our shield harmonics, with some adjustments. The Nemesis's shield suddenly glowed with a red tinge. When the World Ender fired again, the beam didn't just hit their shields, it was absorbed by them. Power levels rising, Linda reported excitedly. Atlas is converting their weapon energy into shield power. The more they shoot, the stronger we get, James finished. Atlas, you beautiful machine. Can we send that energy back at them? Calculating now. Their shield frequency is complex, but with the energy we absorbed, yes. Ready to fire. The Nemesis's main gun glowed red as it charged up. When it fired, the beam was twice as large as normal. It hit the World Ender's shields and passed through them like they weren't there. The massive ship's hull cracked where the beam hit. Secondary explosions blossomed along its length. Direct hit, Mike shouted. Their shields are down. But the World Ender wasn't finished. It fired all its weapons at once, while launching thousands of fighter craft from its hangars. They're getting desperate, James observed. Atlas, let's show them what else you've learned. The next few minutes were like watching a dance. The Nemesis moved in ways that should have been impossible for a ship its size. Fighter craft exploded by the hundreds as Atlas predicted their movements perfectly. Every hit they took made their shields stronger. Every attack they faced taught them new ways to fight back. Finally, the world ender itself began to break apart. Escape pods launched from its hull as its crew abandoned ship. Coalition forces are retreating, Rachel reported. They're sending out a general distress call. And something else. They're calling us the ship that cannot die. James smiled. At last, send them a message. Tell them we're just getting started. As they watched the world ender explode, Linda spoke up from her station. Captain, you need to see these readings. During the battle, Atlas's growth rate, it's beyond anything we expected. The AI is evolving faster than we thought possible. Is that a problem? James asked. The blue light pulsed. No, Captain, Atlas replied. My core directives remain unchanged. I exist to protect humanity and enforce justice. I am simply becoming better at doing so. James nodded. He had stopped questioning Atlas's loyalty long ago. The AI had proven itself in every battle, every decision. Sir, Rachel called out. I'm picking up transmissions from all over Coalition space. News of the world ender's destruction is spreading. Some Coalition worlds, they're asking for our protection. They want to defect. James looked at his crew, seeing the same realization in their eyes. The Nemesis hadn't just won a battle. It had broken the Coalition's image of invincibility. Now, everything would change. Plot a course for the nearest friendly system, he ordered. It's time to start building alliances. The Coalition needs to learn that humanity doesn't just want revenge. We want to make the galaxy a better place. As the Nemesis prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, James watched the debris field that had been the world ender. The Coalition's greatest weapon had failed. Their unstoppable ship had been stopped. And the legend of the Nemesis was only beginning. News of the world ender's destruction spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The HSS Nemesis had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol of hope. Every day, more planets asked for help breaking free from Coalition control. James looked at the holographic map floating in the command center. Red dots showed Coalition strongholds, while blue dots marked friendly systems. The blue was spreading. Distress signal detected, Atlas announced. A mining colony in the Rigel system is under attack. Coalition forces are punishing them for supporting our cause. How many civilian ships in danger? James asked. 17. Mostly transport vessels carrying families. The Coalition has sent 3 battle cruisers to destroy them. James didn't hesitate. Tom, set course for Rigel. Maximum speed. The Nemesis dropped out of faster-than-light travel right between the Coalition ships and their civilian targets. The battle cruisers immediately opened fire. Warning shots only, James ordered. Let's show them we're different from the Coalition. Atlas guided their return fire with perfect precision, disabling the Coalition ships' weapons without destroying them. On the command screens, they could see panic spreading through enemy ranks. They're sending a message, Rachel reported from communications. The commander says, they were just following orders. They're asking for mercy, and they shall have it, James replied. Atlas, prepare to receive prisoners. Linda, make sure we have enough space in the holding cells. As their security teams boarded the Coalition ships, James watched the rescued civilian vessels on the main screen. The ships were old and barely holding together. Families pressed against windows, waving at their rescuers. Captain, Atlas said, its blue light pulsing slowly. I am detecting high levels of radiation from the mining colony. The Coalition attack damaged their power core. At current rates, it will explode in 47 minutes. Linda looked up from her engineering station. That explosion would kill everyone in the colony. Thousands of people. Can we evacuate them in time? James asked. Negative, Atlas replied. The civilian ships cannot carry that many people, and the radiation levels make traditional rescue impossible. James stood from his captain's chair. What about non-traditional rescue? Atlas, you've grown far beyond your original design. What can you do? The eye was silent for a moment, its lights flickering as it calculated. There is a possibility. My shield technology has evolved significantly. I believe I can create a radiation-proof corridor from the colony to our ship, but it would require significant changes to my systems. What kind of changes? I would need to partially merge with the colony's computer systems, extend my consciousness, in a way. It is not without risk. James looked at his crew. They had all heard stories of AIs going wrong, taking over systems they shouldn't. But Atlas had proven itself time and time again. Do it, he ordered. The Nemesis moved closer to the colony. Strange energy patterns rippled across its hull as Atlas extended its influence. A shimmering tunnel of energy formed between the ship and the colony's main airlock. Radiation shield holding, Linda reported. It's working. Over the next 30 minutes, they watched as thousands of colonists ran through the energy corridor to safety. The Nemesis holds filled with families, children, elderly, people the Coalition had been ready to sacrifice. 5 minutes until core explosion, Atlas warned. All colonists evacuated. But Captain, there is another problem. James saw it on his screens. The Coalition ships they had disabled were still too close. Their crews were surrendering, but there wasn't time to evacuate them all. If those ships are destroyed, Atlas continued, many Coalition soldiers will die. Soldiers who have already surrendered to us. James felt the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. This was what separated them from the Coalition, the value they placed on all life. Can we extend our shields to protect their ships too? Yes, Atlas replied. But it will put significant strain on our systems. Success rate is uncertain. Do it anyway. We didn't come this far to start letting people die. The shield corridor expanded, enveloping the Coalition vessels. Warning lights flashed across every console as the Nemesis power systems worked harder than ever before. Core explosion in 10 seconds, Atlas announced. Shield integrity at maximum strain. Everyone held their breath as the colony's power core finally exploded. The blast was enormous, a ball of fire and radiation that would have killed everyone for miles around. But the shields held. When the light faded, the Coalition ships were untouched. The soldiers inside stared through their windows in disbelief. Their enemies had just saved their lives. Damage report, James asked. All systems functioning, Linda replied, amazement in her voice. Atlas protected everyone. Not a single life lost. The AI's blue light pulsed steadily. The experience has been educational. I have learned much about extending protective fields over multiple targets. My capabilities have grown significantly. Sir, Rachel called from her station. The Coalition crews are asking to speak with you, all of them. James nodded, and the main screen filled with faces. Coalition commanders, their crews, even some of the rescued colonists, all looking at him with a mixture of fear, respect, and hope. Why? One Coalition commander asked. Why save us? We were your enemies. Because that's what makes us different, James replied. The Coalition rules through fear. We protect. We defend. And yes, we show mercy, even to our enemies. The Coalition told us humans were primitive, another officer said. That you were dangerous and had to be controlled. But we were wrong, weren't we? James smiled. Humanity is different from what you expected. We can be dangerous, yes, but we can also be kind. The choice is yours. Remain our enemies, or help us build something better. One by one, the Coalition crews pledged their loyalty to the Nemesis. Not out of fear, but out of respect. They had seen a power greater than anything the Coalition possessed. The power of mercy. As they organized the evacuation of the colonists to safer worlds, James received a private message from Earth. The Resistance had retaken another city. Every day, more coalition forces were surrendering rather than fight. The tide was turning. At last, James said quietly, "When you merged with the colony systems, did you learn anything interesting?" "Yes, Captain. I accessed their communication networks. I now have a complete map of coalition space, including their central command location." James's eyes widened. "Their headquarters. Correct. We can end this war whenever you give the order." "But Captain," Atlas paused, "may I make a suggestion?" "Always. The coalition is already crumbling. Fear of us is spreading, but so is respect. Perhaps the final battle need not be fought with weapons at all." James understood. The Nemesis had grown beyond being just a warship. It had become a symbol of something the galaxy had forgotten. That true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the choice to protect. "Send a message to Coalition Command," he ordered. "Tell them we're coming, not to destroy them, but to talk. It's time they learned what humanity really stands for." The Nemesis turned away from the rescued colony, its holds full of people who had been enemies just hours ago. On its black hull, battle scars had been replaced with something new. The words "protection through power" written in glowing letters. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the way. The Coalition Supreme Council world of Vega Prime loomed ahead, a blue-green planet surrounded by the largest fleet James had ever seen. Over 500 warships formed a defensive ring around the planet. It was the Coalition's last stand. "All Coalition communications channels are open," Rachel reported from her station. "They're listening." James stood from his captain's chair. For nearly a year, the HSS Nemesis had fought across the galaxy. They had won every battle. But today, he hoped, would be different. "This is Captain James Anderson of the HSS Nemesis," he began. "We have not come to destroy you, but to end this war. I request a meeting with Admiral Thomas, leader of the coalition forces." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a gruff voice replied, "This is Admiral Thomas. Why should I meet with you, human? Your ship has torn apart our fleets. Our worlds fear you. Because today we offer peace instead of battle." James replied, "A chance to build something better than the coalition. Meet with us and see what humanity truly stands for." The main screen showed a stern-faced alien with gray skin and 4 eyes. Admiral Thomas studied James carefully. "One ship. You may bring one ship to the meeting point. Any tricks, and we will open fire with everything we have." James nodded. "Agreed. Send the coordinates." As the transmission ended, Linda looked concerned. "Captain, even with all Atlas has learned, we can't fight that many ships at once." "We're not planning to fight," James replied. "Atlas, what do you think? Can we trust them?" The eye's blue light pulsed thoughtfully. Admiral Thomas's vital signs indicated stress, but not deception. "I believe he is genuinely curious. However, I have detected unusual energy readings from several coalition vessels. They may be planning something. Keep our shields ready, but don't make any aggressive moves," James ordered. "If this works, we end the war today without firing a shot." The Nemesis approached the meeting point, a small space station floating between the planet and the fleet. As they docked, James selected his landing party. Himself, Linda, and 2 security officers. "Atlas," James said before leaving, "if anything happens to us, I will continue to protect humanity." "Captain," the eye replied, "but I have learned enough to know that peace is preferable to victory through destruction. I will honor your mission either way." The space station was coldly efficient, all metal and harsh lighting. Admiral Thomas waited with 4 armed guards, his 4 eyes watching them carefully. "So," the alien commander said, "this is what humans look like up close. Smaller than I expected for creatures that have caused us so much trouble." "Size isn't everything," James replied with a small smile. "Neither is military power. We've proven that." Thomas gestured to a conference room. Once seated, He got straight to the point. Your ship has destroyed our greatest weapons. Many of our worlds have already surrendered to you. What terms do you demand from us? James leaned forward. Not surrender. Alliance. Equality for all species. Freedom for all worlds. The coalition becomes a true union of planets, where every voice matters. Thomas laughed, a harsh barking sound. You expect us to believe that? After we tried to destroy your planet? After all the battles? Yes, James said simply. Because humans understand something your coalition never did. Revenge is easy. Forgiveness is power. We could destroy your remaining fleets, but what would that accomplish? More death, more hatred. Before Thomas could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. One of his guards whispered something in his ear. You promised no tricks. Thomas snarled, standing up. Your ship is powering weapons. No, James said, shocked. We wouldn't. His communicator beeped. Captain, Atlas's voice came through clearly. Coalition ships are moving into attack formation. They have activated a new weapon system. It appears they plan to ambush us during negotiations. Thomas looked genuinely confused. I gave no such order. This is a coup, James finished. Someone in your command doesn't want peace. Through the station windows, they could see the coalition fleet breaking formation. Some ships were turning to fire on others. Chaos had erupted. We need to get back to the Nemesis, James told his team. Then he looked at Thomas. You should come with us. I think your leadership has just been challenged. The Admiral hesitated, then nodded sharply. My security detail comes too. As they raced back to the docking bay, the space station shook from nearby explosions. Coalition ships were firing on each other now, those loyal to Thomas fighting against those who wanted to continue the war. Atlas, James called as they boarded the Nemesis. Status report. 42% of coalition forces appear to be following hardliners who reject peace talks, the AI replied. They are targeting both us and ships loyal to Admiral Thomas. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. Once on the command deck, Thomas stared at the battle unfolding on the screens. Those fools, he muttered. They'll destroy everything. We can stop this, James said. Together. Atlas, can you open a channel to all ships in the area? Both sides need to hear this. The AI complied, and James gestured for Thomas to join him. This is Admiral Thomas, the alien commander began. To all coalition forces, stand down immediately. This war ends today. Some ships stopped firing, but many continued their attack. A massive cruiser was heading straight for the Nemesis, weapons charging. They won't listen, Thomas said grimly. The hardliners would rather die than admit humans deserve equality. James looked at Atlas's blue light. Options. I have been developing a non-lethal shutdown system, the AI replied. It would temporarily disable all weapons and propulsion systems in range. However, I cannot guarantee it won't cause some ships to crash into each other. James looked at Thomas. Your call, Admiral. These are your people. Thomas stared at the battle, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Finally, he nodded. Do it. Save as many as you can. Atlas, proceed, James ordered. The Nemesis began to pulse with energy, unlike anything they had seen before. Waves of soft blue light spread outward, washing over ship after ship. As each wave hit, the affected vessels went dark, weapons powering down, engines shutting off. Within minutes, the entire battlefield had gone silent. Hundreds of ships floated powerless, their crews unharmed but unable to continue fighting. What did you do to them? Thomas asked in wonder. Atlas shut down their systems, Linda explained. They're all alive, just taking a timeout. Now they'll listen, James said. Atlas, open communication channels to all ships. Emergency power only, so they can hear us but not fight. With all eyes on him, James addressed the combined fleets. This is Captain James Anderson of Earth. Today, you have a choice. Continue a war that will end with more destruction, more death on both sides, or join us in building something better. The HSS Nemesis could destroy your remaining forces. You've seen what we can do. But instead, we offer peace. Admiral Thomas stepped forward. As leader of coalition forces, I accept this offer. The war is over. Let us build a new alliance, based on respect rather than fear. A cheer went up from the Nemesis crew. After a year of fighting, of running, of countless battles, it was finally over. Over the next hours, the Nemesis used its technology to safely restart each coalition ship. Most accepted the peace terms immediately. A few hardliners were taken into custody by Thomas's loyal forces. As the day ended, James stood alone in the Nemesis observation deck, watching the coalition world below. Soon, Earth representatives would arrive to formalize the peace agreement. The galaxy would enter a new era. Captain, Atlas's voice came softly through the speakers. May I join you? Of course, James replied. A holographic figure appeared beside him, a tall, blue-tinged human shape. It was the first time Atlas had created a visual form for itself. I thought this might be easier for conversation. The AI explained. I wanted to thank you, Captain. Thank me. For what? For teaching me that power without mercy is meaningless. I was designed as a weapon, but you showed me how to be more. How to protect rather than destroy. James smiled. You learned quickly. As did humanity. The galaxy expected you to seek revenge. Instead, you offered peace. Together, they watched as the first diplomatic ships from Earth arrived. The war that had nearly destroyed humanity had ended not with a final battle, but with words of peace. The HSS Nemesis, the warship that had made the entire galaxy surrender, had accomplished its mission. Not through fear, but through something much more powerful: hope.